Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Petal Talk Podcast. I am your host, Allison Crowder, and today we are back with another fan favorite, my girl, Kate. Hi, welcome to Petal Talk, where skincare meets soul care. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm really, really happy to have you on. We have been talking about this for a long time, literally 1 year. And I think now more than ever, it's so good to have this conversation for a lot of reasons. Obviously, and we'll get into, obviously you can tell by the title, we're talking a lot about health and just overall well-being. And this is a conversation that you and I talk about every single day. And I feel like this is something that has rooted us in our friendship and in our relationship in general. Mm-hmm. And it's something I could talk about for hours and hours and hours. And I have so many thoughts. And I've learned so much from you and learned so much about taking care of yourself, and you have a lot of wisdom to share. And I'm just excited for other people to hear this because I think it really kind of humanizes experiences like this. And I feel like the things we're going to touch on are a lot more common than people would think. And you have a really beautiful story. And I'm excited for other people to hear it. So, yeah. Before we get into it, though, it's been a year-ish, which is so crazy.
I know.
Like,
time really does fly.
Time is a thief. I cannot even believe it. Seriously was May of last year. Like, that is insane.
It feels like 2 months ago.
No, it feels like, yeah. It
like,
yeah. A couple months. Yeah. Well, like in the spring. Mm-hmm. Like we're at the end of the summer. Yeah. It's so crazy. Tell us though, from then, professionally, what has been going on? How's life been? What has changed? Any updates? Tell us, give us an update.
Professionally, definitely I feel more like grounded, and I feel like our relationships have just like built like to another level with our guests. So I love that. That's super important to me. Like having those deep connections are really important because we do touch on so much more than just skin. With me personally, I feel like that's just super important. You know, if a client comes in and they're like, I'm having a breakout, you know, it's not just, oh, the products aren't working or this is going on. I'm like, okay, what'd you do? Where'd you go? What's going on in your life? Like, what'd you eat? Okay, were we drinking? Like, there's so many factors to skin health. So I feel like I, you know, build that trust, and then like we have to like have that bond so we can really like make strides like in, you know, in someone's life and in their routine and in their skin.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And I feel like, especially with skin, it is so tied to other factors, right? It's such an art. It's not always a complete science because there are so many things, diet, exercise, alcohol, like we touched on, you know, there are so many things that come to it, and it does feel really full circle when your skin does show. I don't know what that phrase is, but your skin always shows what is going on. And
for sure, it
can be jarring, right? When they have so much inflammation, or they do have like a lot of cystic whatever, or like a lot of hormonal whatever. And there always is a bigger story and more thought behind it. And it's cool that we get to be that for people.
Yeah, I honestly love it. Like, I'm a therapist,
basically,
and a nutritionist, and a
life
personal
coach.
Trainer, and
emphasis on the personal training part.
But I never put that information out unless it's requested. Like, unless someone is like coming to me and saying like, this is what's going on, and they really open up to me. I don't want anyone ever to feel like I'm judging or like pushing things on them or anything like that.
You do a really good job of that.
I wait for that conversation to be like opened up to me, and then I'm like, okay,
am I good this can? Yeah, let me tell you.
Okay. And they're like, all right, I didn't want all that information.
Yes, but you do a good job of that because you do have, and it can be overwhelming. And we've talked about this before when guests come in and they see all of us, and you know, it can feel like overwhelming because we're at like the end of our journey, kind of, right? We're on the medical grade things. We've done all the treatments.
We have access to them.
Access to everything. You know, like, we can do them ourselves, and we can take it home. We can buy it on our own. Rather than them, they're brand new. A lot of times they don't have the knowledge. We also have a lot of schooling, you know. And so for us kind of being at the tail end of our journey, I can understand how someone coming in the beginning, it can feel like a bit overwhelming, but that is something that you've always done a really good job of, is kind of meeting people where they're at. Yeah. Because it is overwhelming and it's very intimate.
It just being like a judgment-free zone.
Absolutely.
Like I don't care if you're using the St. Ives scrub.
Yeah.
I care because we're going to change that. But like, I'm not going to be like, ew, what is she doing? You know, whatever.
Right.
Yeah. To each his own, but like, let's elevate it. And I'm going to tell you why this might be better. Like, you're here for a reason. So obviously like something's not working, but doesn't matter, you know, what you're using now, what you use in the past. Like, I've used it, like we've all been there. So
I've never used it, but that's just because I am
you
scared of those
very baby skin.
Yes. But like, I totally don't judge that much.
No.
And also, people don't have the knowledge, right? And I think that the beauty industry has changed a lot from, even when I first went to school to now. It's so different. Yeah. And we're just more aware, which we'll probably touch on a little bit more. But this health and beauty industry is just so different now. And the access is different, and the lies are different. And there's just so much that comes with that. And our job is to give the tools, provide the tools, and they got to kind of finish the job.
I love where it's headed, though. Like, I really do feel like there is more awareness around like the health aspects of using, more chemical product, or not necessarily like medical grade, not like water is a chemical. So I don't even want to say that necessarily, but like being in tune with your body, what you're putting in your body, what you eat, things like that. Like those things matter. Even I'm huge on microneedling because I don't want to get Botox. Like, I don't want to do these things anymore. Again, not judging. I don't, to each his own, but like, I love that there's so much more awareness about like, there's other alternatives that are so much better for your skin health and for your body's health and your mental health and all the things. So I love that they're like colliding.
Absolutely.
Like that.
And we've even just talked about, even recently, even as things like tattoos, like your skin fights it off for the rest of your life.
It's I had no idea.
Me either.
To think, like, have I been living under a rock? Like, yes, they are putting ink into your skin. I just watched a video the other day and it was talking about how toxic it is. And it's crazy because they flare up. Like, they
Mine
still
do all
will
the
have,
time.
like, bumps, like out of nowhere. Like a whole like part of my arm will literally be like raised. And like itchy.
I always say it's when I'm dehydrated. Like, and it's always this one same spot.
Interesting.
I wonder if it's doing it right
I've never
now.
paid attention to
that.
I
always feel like this one specific area gets really inflamed, and I'm always thinking, it's because I'm so dehydrated. And then I feel like as soon as, which, it's
not a bad thing.
Over here, it's not great, but that's always how I can kind of correlate it. So maybe that relates to you as well. I'm not sure.
But I will say on that note, it's not going to stop me from getting tattoos. I'm going to get more. Like, I think everything is a balance. Like, and that's the way the way I am approaching things right now, because that's the way that I can even approach it.
So let's talk about balance, because that kind of does open up this greater conversation, which is how the last year has been for you guys on like a personal level, and just for you and your family, and kind of walk us back to, because you have used the word balance and like balancing things, I think, for a while, right? You and your husband used to talk, and you've shared with me random cleanses or whatever, and like trying to get back on track, or like these kind of temporary things to kind of balance out the rest of your year. Kind of walk us through kind of the beginning of kind of where that journey started, like when you guys did your first like dry January. Where did that come from? Or was it dry January? Like, where did these initial spurts of wellness come from?
So I have to give Dan kudos for that. Actually, I'm that's my husband. I used to hate it. Like, I remember being so resentful so many times, because we started when we first started dating. So you've always 8 years ago, like we started. That was his thing, because
like dry January.
Yes, because he's like how I am. We're extremists. Like, we are. Things are black and white. Like sometimes, and I'm trying to figure out how to not be that way, but I also do think, and I like make jokes like that gives me my edge, that makes me really motivated, but then it also can be like in a slump really quickly, or whatever. So I'm trying to find that like middle area to live in with things, not alcohol, because we've completely, we no longer drink. We're not sober, but we don't drink. Anyway, so with dry January, that was Dan's way of like resetting. And I started doing it with him and I hated it. So I always tell people now, like, if you are trying not to drink or if you want to do some sort of like cleanse, it has to be when you are ready. Like, I remember sneaking wine. Like, I remember.
You did?
Oh, of course I did.
Stop.
Yes. Yeah. And I felt so guilty.
I'm sure.
It created friction because I knew I was lying to him, and I'm a complete open book. So like, I don't do well with like lies or anything like that. So then it was like I would create other problems to fight about because I was really upset about this situation. But it wasn't until I think we did like 3 years of doing dry January, and every time I loved it. Like, even though I would get like resentful,
and
I
let
would
me ask,
see
you were not working out at this time.
Working out?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
Like, I hadn't.
It was
started
only
yet.
like an alcohol only thing. Okay. Yes.
It was like here and there. Like we would go on like walks for a long time, but we weren't like where we're at now.
Yeah.
We weren't like in the gym 5 days a week. But I started seeing, I think it was like year 3 probably. The first 2 years I despised it.
Yeah.
And then like the third year, I think it was when I hit 30 actually. I started seeing like the benefits really. Like, I almost feel like I had an awakening of like, oh, I actually am like really happy. I feel more patient with the kids. I feel happier with Dan. I feel like I have a clear, it's almost like you can just like see your life better.
You're awake.
Yeah. Like, I really felt like I started noticing those things. But, then I would say when I hit 30, we would go back to like our regular life of like drinking almost every single night, and then, but that kind of like manifested into me really taking like the lead with it and being like, no, you know what, let's only drink on the weekends, so we went through a couple more years of trial and error with that. Like, let's just not keep any alcohol in the house. We'd do that for a month. Then it would sneak back in, let's just, like I said, drink on the weekends. Then an excuse would come up, stressful
Friday
day,
or birthday
and
or something,
and to like touch on like the birthday things, like it was almost to the point of where I felt like alcohol was like the main event at every single event. Yeah, it always had to be about, okay, where are we getting a drink? What drinks are we bringing? What are we doing? And it's not even about like I have 2 sons, like that are watching this, and like. I think during the time of me really like taking a step back was when I realized like they were fully aware now. Like, we can't hide these things from baby, they're not babies anymore. They're able to talk. They know mommy's having like wine, whatever. And it was all of those things. It was like, and then I started getting into the gym. And
how old were you when you started doing that? Like, taking
it was like
really
30.
Seriously?
I was 30. Yeah. Like maybe the end of my 30s. But yeah, I for a long time we were going so hard in the gym, like really eating so well, but like going home and having like vodka Diet Coke, like 3 or 4 a night.
Even when I first met you, you would say things like, I'm just gonna like not eat during the day because I'm gonna like have a drink later. Like, and I remember thinking like, that's crazy, and not for any reason other than like, I totally get it. But when you are, you have these like fitness goals and calories are. You need to be intentional with where you put them. I totally understand why you would say that, right?
Which is, now hearing that is like disgusting to me. But it was like the only way.
That's how it was. And that's how you guys operated. And I get it though.
But it was like a joke in now that I like think back, I'm like, oh, I thought everything was just like happy, like whatever, oh, I'm just not going to eat all day so I can drink later. Those are my calories, we laugh it off. But I'm like, in hindsight, it's actually really like sad. And I'm like depleting my body of so many like nutrients and it really defeats the purpose of like working so hard in the gym. And then, of course, like my career that I'd never wanted, that was like really, I mean, besides like my family, it was just like when things got like serious here, that was really like a moment for me of like, okay, this is not going to have any type of hold over me. I'm not messing up my job. I don't want my guests to ever feel me, ever being like hungover or anything like that. Is just not, I want to be a place where they come, they're paying a lot of money to come and feel like relaxed and taken care of. And, I don't want to be anything but that for them. So
you have a couple years of kind of finding your balance. And then let's kind of fast forward to like the end of 2023, the beginning of 2024. And you decide, I think you decided to do 3 months.
I did 6 months.
Is that okay?
Yeah. So like we did, I think the year before I did 3 months.
Okay. That's what it was. Okay.
So like, I think we had just met.
Yeah, I think so.
Months.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's what it was. Cause I remember the jump when you said 6 months and that was like much bigger.
Yeah. And this is so funny because I was telling Allison this yesterday, thinking about like timelines and stuff. Like when I first met her, Allison doesn't drink. And I remember being like, what is this? Like, I just couldn't comprehend. Like, what happened? Why? Did you go to AA? Like, it's like something insane must have happened, which even if it did, I couldn't wrap my head around like someone that just doesn't drink. Like that just, and it was like cool and fine and normal to like go and be around people. Like she was hanging out with all of us while we were, having drinks and stuff. And it was like no big deal.
That first like work event, I remember when we went down to whatever.
Yeah, 4th Street.
Yeah, and we all were, and everyone...
I was like, shots. Yeah. And Allison was like, I'll have a tea.
Yeah, like, I'm good.
Like, okay.
So. I'm really fine. Yeah.
No, but now like looking back, it's so interesting because the people in my life that have like made impacts in my life are not drinkers. Like, my best friend Kelsey, she's not a drinker, like has never been. That was like one of the things that her and I, like for the past 5 years, our children are friends. It's always been like, come on, let's drink with me. Like I was trying to pull her into that when we would hang out because I wanted us to have fun. And every time like something bad happened, like she got sick or and now I look back and I'm like, I think I just didn't know how to have fun without drinking.
It's scary to go from, not that you were so dependent, but it is scary to, you do get nervous sometimes in social situations.
Oh, it's a huge like social anxiety
Totally.
thing.
You do get like a little flustered. And so I can imagine being like, I'm just going to take a shot really quick and then I'll be fine.
Yeah.
And that's very normal. A lot of people are like that.
Yeah.
And I can understand how it starts from socially and then turns into a problem. And I'm using that in air quotes because it becomes, well, I just perform better at work events when I'm drinking. Then it's like, well, maybe I have a big meeting. I'll just like have a drink here or whatever. And then it turns into like every single day. And that's how people fall into that trap.
Yeah. And, so like, I think I went off topic, but like to go back to like 23, 24. So I had went like 3 months. So we always did the 90 days. And then that's
what it was. Yes. And why the 90 days though?
It's just like, it felt 90 days dry January or no?
No, that's just a month.
Oh, okay.
You did
90 days is 3 months.
Yes. I remember when I first met you, I remember
I had just started
at the end of the year or something.
Really?
Or maybe it was like the beginning. I remember I have been around for a 3 month period and a 6 month period. I don't remember.
I think we probably did like dry January and then I just did it again.
I think that is what it was actually.
I was feeling like I needed because
you would
I am
say
all or nothing.
Until June, until the wedding. Yeah. That's what you would tell me.
Yes. So, but that was, I did 6 months then.
Yeah.
I think the year before I did 3 months.
Okay. Yeah.
But anyway, I just know that anytime I did do it, I was the happiest I ever was. Yeah. And you like build your confidence because you're not needing something else to make you feel comfortable.
Right.
Like, yes, you have to like kind of sit in your, a little bit and really like take a look at yourself. And and that is like the biggest thing is that I feel like I've had a million epiphanies like constantly and memories that I didn't have, in my 20s when all I did, Dan and I were both in the hospitality industry. Like what we did was, we bartended and we drank and like, that's, what we did. And I feel like now more and more people are not drinking. So I'm so happy because we're always terrified of our children, like going in our paths, which obviously we're fine. We're successful. We're happy. We're motivated people. Like we're good people. Like they will be fine. But I do feel like there's a shift in people everywhere. I really do feel like a lot of people are,
well, it's like bad for you.
Yeah.
Right. And like, that's not talked about either of it is so bad for you, not only because it makes you not coherent, but also from just an inflammation standpoint
leaks into every aspect of your life.
Yes. Your
you
sleep,
skip
your
health,
workout.
Yes. You're a little more irritable to your partner. You think like maybe
You're
in the
bloated,
moment it's making you like like, okay, I mean, this is totally TMI, but like I hear a lot of women say like, oh, well, like sexually, like loose, right. I feel like I can be more whatever, right. But I'm like, are you even there though?
Right.
Like, are you fully connecting?
Right.
You know, and now that's where I am noticing like Dan and I are actually like emotionally connecting, right. In ways that we've never, ever.
Yeah, because you like lift the veil.
Yeah.
It no longer is this thing that you both can kind of tiptoe around and kind of like hide behind.
It's like we're getting to know each other.
Yeah,
like
it's
really
like very intimate and very like, this is me.
Yeah.
With nothing clouding your judgment.
Yeah.
And that can be scary. And some people are not ready for that.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it does, like you touched on earlier, it does have to be a decision that you make for yourself, for your family, or for whoever, because it is not easy.
Yeah.
And you deciding to go through that journey it's so vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. But I will say it's a lot easier than I think people.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't have to go to AA.
Yeah. So walk us through that. So you decide, all right, I'm going to do 3 months, and then it turned into 6 because you just felt so good.
Yeah. I did 3 months, and then we went back to drinking, and it was just like all of the same things every single time. Like life would be great. And then the moment we got back to drinking, it was like, oh, like, we're bickering more. We're going through fights. Like, you know, we're spending a ton of money. We're making random purchases. Like, I think Dan bought both of his trucks while we were on like a date, you know, and he hates his, I mean, he loves his truck, but the monster truck is, you know, not necessary. And now we're a lot more like financially rational.
I've done that though too before. You have one eye open, you're scrolling, you're like, I'm buying that.
All the time. But so anyway, we would kind of go back to our habits again, and then I was like, I want to commit to 6 months. Like I just want to try something I've never done before. I mean, honestly, since I was like 15, probably. I mean, 6 months is a long time for like an adult that drinks frequently. So I made it to like, it was like 5.5 months, and we had a wedding to go to. And so like, I think I started drinking a couple of days before the wedding because I didn't want to get like blackout drunk. Right. I mean, all of the preparation that goes into like the drinking is ridiculous. Yes. But that's how it always was for me. Like, oh, okay, I can't drink tonight because I know I have this for work and I don't want to be shaky or weird. Okay, so I won't drink here, but like I'm sitting there wanting to drink.
Right. That's all you can think about.
It's just so like so much unnecessary energy spent trying to plan for the alcohol, and it's like not necessary.
Right.
But so anyway, we drank at the wedding. Everything was fine. It was fine. I passed out early, like so I didn't even hang out with my best friend and her sister whose wedding it was. I passed out by like 9:00, and you know, we got home. It was like, I think it was like Father's Day weekend. And we just had, you know, way too much like to drink Father's Day weekend. And it definitely like, you know, we got into a big fight, and I told Dan like ultimatum status, which, you know, I've thrown things around before. Like, this isn't going to work out if we don't get this together, whatever. But like, this was so serious. I, you know, called a therapist. I found a therapist, and I vented to him and told him like everything that we have dealt with over the last 7 years, just like where our marriage was at, you know, kids, like everything. And he let me talk like for like 45 minutes. I was like, I'll make it quick. And then, you know, I'm like crying and telling him like, you know, where we're at and like what we're dealing with and whatever. And I told Dan, I'm like, listen, like this is either I've never, I think when you're not emotional anymore, either like your partner sees that like you're so serious about something, because I wasn't upset. I wasn't anything. I was just so like just like, this is scary. This is our only option.
Yes.
You're either on this train with me, and like clearly I'm in this with you, and I love you, and like you're my best friend, and I just want the best for our life, and I want the best for our kids, and like we're going to quit drinking because we have tried. Like we tried, you know, having a little bit here and there. We did. Honestly, it is harder for me to have a moderate like drinking than none. Yeah. Like I don't want just one. What's the point? That's what I feel like. Why just have one? I don't feel it. Like there's nothing. And if I'm gonna drink, I want to drink for a purpose. Like why am I wasting the calories?
I was just gonna say that. I feel the same way though, and that's how I've always felt is why would I just have one? Yeah. If I'm going, like let's say we're going to dinner. Yeah. Why am I gonna just have one? It's going to do nothing. I'm going to eat. I would rather have a water, or I want what 5 shots. Eat
and like not care. Yeah.
There's no in between.
See, and I didn't like shots. Like I was
but they're quick.
Champagne. Like I love mimosas.
No,
like,
girl. I want the Tito's straight. I want it quick.
That, I mean, you can not, I would have like 2 bottles of champagne or
crazy.
like a bottle of wine.
Yeah, but then it's like, of course you feel horrible after.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
1,000.
But that's like what I liked, you
Right.
know, and I think it was because I worked at like brunch restaurants and stuff like that.
Sure.
So like I loved like Bloody Marys and the, you know, but anyway.
Yeah, it's tough out there.
Yeah.
So you decide over the summer, you're like, you know what, this is just, we need a change.
Yeah.
Were you scared to make that change, or did you feel like since you'd already had 6 months of kind of being on the other side that you felt really confident in that, or were you like, oh my gosh, this is so scary, what am I going to do?
I think at first, and I'm sure anyone that like quit drinking feels this way, like the forever concept is so hard to like mentally wrap your head around that. Like, how am I, because we do have so many good times too. Like, I am a fun like social drinker. Like, I get very lovey-dovey and like, okay, you know, I have a good time. Like, but also there were times when like I would fight with my mom or, you know, whatever. Right. But there were so many good like fun social events. I think that was like the hardest part, and I think that's the hardest part for everyone, is like everyone else is going to be drinking, like, you know, so I was worried about that. And I was worried about like the forever aspect at first. But then once you get like so far into it and it just becomes a habit, because that's what it is. I mean, it is a habit. And like I said in the beginning, like I didn't have to go to AA, nothing like that. And there's no shame in if you do need help, like go get it.
Absolutely.
You're trying to make the right like call for you. Thankfully, like it was not necessary for Dan and I think it's because we spent so many years like going on cleanses, taking time away, like, and I didn't wake up and drink. Like I was not, it was never like that. It was just, I always at night wanted to drink after work, you know? And I didn't like, literally, this is what I felt one night. I remember I was in the shower, and I have deep thoughts always while I'm in the shower. I was telling Allison that the other day. I'm like, do you guys think about like your entire life? I wish I could just relax in the shower. No, but
really deep.
I was able to actually like put a word to how I felt about it. And I think this was like maybe 3-4 months in. I just kept feeling so like such a release, you know, and I just felt like such a weight off my shoulders. And like one day I was like, I feel like I'm out of like the chains that alcohol had over me, which as corny as that sounds, like as like whatever as that sounds, that's literally how it felt. Like I don't have this thing dictating my life anymore. I don't have this thing scaring me. Are we going to drink and drive? Like, are we going to fight? You know, are we going to do something stupid? Am I going to hurt someone's feelings? Am I going to get fat? Like even as something as stupid as that, like it was just all the things that came with it. I was really just so thankful that I felt like for the first time in my life, I was not trapped by something else like that.
What gave you the confidence to get to that point?
You just don't think about it. You just do it. Like, and I know that's not really like helpful. I think the trial and error of seeing how I felt really helped me too, like to commit. But I think I was just at a point of like, this is insanity at this point. Like you can't just keep doing things over and over and over again and expecting like a different outcome. Right. We know like whether we want to blame it on, you know, we blamed our issues on X, Y, and Z. Sure. You know, but at the end of the day, and it's so funny because Dan, he'll like see things differently. And he's like, you put so much emphasis on alcohol and like you blame it a lot. Like we had a horrible problem. And I'm like, it was. Yeah. To me, like now looking back, I do think that so many things, and not even with just him, I think old relationships. I remember when I was like 20, I had a few guys that told me like, oh, I would marry you today. Not like I care, but, you know, if you didn't drink so much, like now I had flashbacks of like so many times where I was like, fuck them, you know, it's the guy, but it was me, you know, because I was just getting blackout drunk because I couldn't handle situations that were going on in my life. So I think like now everything is really like surfacing, and this is the most difficult part really, being awake and seeing clearly and like head on with your problems. This is the hard part. It's not the not drinking. I really think that when people do like a moderate like drinking, that's hard because then you're having to test like your self-control and your willpower all the time. and it's a drug, like, and it's, you know, sugar and the things that like our body craves. So if you have a sip, of course you're going to want it like tomorrow, and it's a habit. So if you break that habit, you know, it's so easy. Like now I don't even think about it. And it's been, you know, collectively, if I count from like my 6 months, it's been almost over a year and a half, but it's been a year since not drinking at all. But yeah, I mean, just knowing that you have to be so like real with yourself. Yeah, I don't even know if it was like confidence. I don't know what it was going to be like or how I was going to feel. I had no idea, but I heard like this guy on Instagram, this entrepreneur the other day, and he like said, his dad had an alcohol problem for like 30 years and he was sober. And he said to his dad, he was like, are you going to be like sober forever? Is this, you know, and you know, is this like, can I expect this from you like forever? And he was like, honestly, I can't tell you yes or no. He's like, I can't promise that to myself or to you. He's like, but I will be for one more day. And I think it's like, you just have to know every single day, I'm not doing this. Yes. And I don't even have to think about it anymore. But in the beginning, it was like, no, I promised us this and we're sticking to this. And I don't care if I'm stressed, or I don't care if we, you know, are booking like a beach weekend or we want to just have like, no. Yeah. Because we promised ourselves this. And the best feeling is when you hold your own self like accountable and you keep your own promises. Like that's how you build confidence in yourself, is like not going back on the things that you said you were going to, you know, stick to. Right. And I was so tired of like breaking those promises to myself, you know.
Well, and you would never do that to anyone else.
Yeah,
right?
never.
You would never promise me something and then just not. You would never promise your mom something and just not. Yeah. And so there is this level of why do we do that to ourselves all the time? Yeah. Even with like fitness and taking care of your body in general, it's always, you know, you show up for work every single day because you have a commitment. Yeah. So many people try and make these commitments just to themselves and they just can't fulfill them. Yeah. And it's a shame because I think a lot of people want to get out and I think a lot of people want to change their life, but it's overwhelming. Yeah. And I've had this conversation with a lot of girlfriends, right? And we touched on this a little bit even yesterday, but if anyone's listening, you didn't know, I lived in Utah for a while, and where I lived was a dry county, and so even getting access to alcohol was extremely challenging. And that's kind of what began my curiosity with not drinking. Just I couldn't get it, right? And I went from being like a wild child in Denver, and if it was accessible, I would have been, but it just was so hard, and like the closest liquor store to me was like really far, and it was like a liquor store.
Wasn't like worth it.
Yeah. And it was cold and like far, and I couldn't just get it downtown. There was a lot of places that didn't even serve alcohol, like at restaurants and stuff. So that's anyway how that kind of opened up. I don't really remember where I was going with that because I got all these flashbacks to like living there and being like, I was just so confused. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like,
yeah, we were just saying how the other day, like we were talking about how you like had a soda, like
So like my girlfriends would be like, let's go for drinks, and I'm like, okay, like where are we going? And it's like literally to get a Dr.
Allison
Pepper.
Gets all dressed up and dolled up, and they're like, girl, like we're getting a Diet
Coke. Casual, yeah. I'm like, oh, I had no idea. But I've had this conversation with other girlfriends of wanting to make the switch between drinking and not, and I'm in the same ilk as you of I don't ever, and I don't know if I ever really like coined the term like I'm sober. I don't know if I ever like held on to that because I found it challenging to say things like that because it felt very big, indefinite,
like it's so set,
and really like what is the word, like unnecessary. I felt like I didn't need to be someone that was like, I've never felt the need to, I'm sober, I'm whatever. Like I don't find the need to like have those titles,
like a label.
Like I've just never really felt like that. Even when I've been in other like elements of my life, I've never been like so drawn to that. But I've always told girlfriends when they're in similar situations, you know, you should just take it one day at a time, and you should wake up every morning and decide this is what you want. Yeah. And it does make it, these bite-sized pieces are a lot more attainable because waking up one day, drinking for your whole life, and then waking up one day and saying, I'm never going to drink ever again, that's hard. Yeah. And a lot of people cannot comprehend that. And it takes a level of fortitude to do that. And that's unfortunately just not the case. Most people are not like you, right? Most people do not have the bandwidth and the endurance to be cold turkey. I'm like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people can be, but most are not. And I understand that.
I feel like it's the easiest way. I literally
feel the same way.
I feel like, what are you doing having a couple?
I feel the same way.
Just be done.
I feel the same way. But I feel like that with a lot of things, like relationships. Anytime I've ever had breakups,
like we're not friends
immediately.
Bye.
Correct, right? Like friendships, relationships, family members.
Nothing lingering.
And it's actually really hard. And maybe this is like a toxic trait, but it's actually hard for me to stay in that gray because it takes up mental space and then I'm not interested at all. Right. And this is in the same realm of the one drink at dinner is like a waste. It's not worth it. And I always have regretted it. Yeah. And felt like I'm just better than this. I'm embarrassed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know.
It is interesting.
It's interesting because I think a lot of people, I think they're in denial, which I'm not trying to, again, I don't care.
And if that offends you, you need to ask yourself why.
And I was in denial that it was a problem. You know, I think that I think people are just like, no, like this is normal because it's everywhere. And
it's actually not normal to be drunk all the time.
Yeah.
That's not normal. And it's so accessible. My husband and I have talked about this before, Justin. We have talked about so many times about how, like weed and cigarettes and like even like Zins, whatever, like how those things have like a bit of a, negative connotation. I mean, cigarettes obviously, but like these things, but you can go anywhere. You can go to my husband's job
to have a drink.
Yes. You can go to my husband's job where they sell dangerous toys and get free alcohol and then get on the toy and go
to get drunk. Yeah.
And it's like, that's so crazy, but that's legal. That should be illegal.
100%.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's like very much encouraged. It's the opposite.
So I think that is like why people are really afraid to do it, because the social anxiety, how it's just like, it's like in your head, it's been ingrained in our head that it's not bad. Like, even though, like, yes, too much is not bad, but like, oh, it's healthy for you. One glass, it's good for your heart.
Red wine.
Yes.
No, it's not.
Like, there have been studies that have been coming out. There's a lot of like knowledge and education. And there's a lot of like really big advocates on like Instagram that I follow that like debunk all of like those, studies and whatnot. They just want the liquor sales.
100%.
Okay? Like everything is about money.
Yeah.
And keeping everyone sick. And
I was just going to say,
they want the American people to be fat, sick, and
and lazy and ugly.
Yes, like,
and addicted to their cell phones.
Because then you keep going to get pills and prescriptions, and that's how, it all works. But on that note of like the social aspect, it was so interesting because at first Dan and I were like, what are we going to do? Like, where are we going to go? We're going to be so bored. We're going to be so lame. We have nothing to do with our life. Like our date nights were always at a bar, like going to find a plate, and at first it was hard because we would go to the same places.
Sure.
And this is, I can't stand this about my husband. He loves Ale House. So like we would always go to Ale House. And I'm like, why are we at Ale House?
Right.
Why am I, I want to go somewhere like eclectic and like cool, not Ale House.
Right.
Okay. But we would try to go back to those places, and we were like, so of course we were bored. We were going back to our old habits, not drinking. And then you start noticing like the bar flies, and it's like, oh my gosh, is this what I looked like? Like, did I talk like this? Was I sloppy? Like, you start noticing all the things, and you're like, thank goodness. But anyway, I think when it became fun for us, like for date night, is when we stopped doing the same things. It's when we like branched out. Like I had Dan try like Vietnamese for the first time. We tried some pho, like, or pho, whatever, however people say it. And he always refused to do it. So we got to go to cool, like little, like mom and pop, like hole in the wall places that don't sell alcohol, and we're like, oh, we've never been here before, because we always made sure there was a bar. Yeah. So instead, our date nights are now like long walks, or go, drive to the beach and walk on the beach. Or I keep telling him, like, can we do yoga? He's like, I would love to see yoga, but my husband's like very muscular and not flexible, but we're working on it. So it really has opened up. Like all I want to do now in my spare time is things that are going to benefit like my mind and my body and like my family and the kids, or work, like just meaningful. That's it. Like it has opened up so much more meaning to my life. Yeah. Like I feel like I'm awake. I can see things. Yes. Now I have to deal with a lot of the issues that like I was just suppressing for a long time. But I'm like, that's why I was drinking the way that I was, because I couldn't handle issues that have happened. You know, we all go through things, whether it's like childhood or whatever, you know, our body's like dealing with. But that was the way that I was coping with, you know, anxiety because of X, Y, and Z, whatever. And I will say, like, on the anxiety note, it really, not drinking is like the best thing you can do. If you have anxiety and you're drinking because you have anxiety, it's only creating more anxiety the next day. You know it. Like, stop being in denial about it. You know you feel worse, and then you drink again to just get rid of that. Now, that doesn't mean that it goes away. Like I said, I'm dealing now with lots of things that come to the surface, and it's really confusing because, you know, I'm like, I should be like the happiest and healthiest I've ever been. Like, I should know that I'm on the right path, and like my head should be in this place. But it's like, I put so much, I think, like, I'm like, it should be this way, you know, like concrete, like thinking, yes. But, now, you know, our therapist said something to me the other day, and like, it was really, he was like, he works with like eating, you know, people with eating disorders. And he's like, when they get away from their eating disorder and they're doing really good, a lot of times they'll go pull back and they'll like seek that feeling again. Not even like they're going to do it, but like they miss the way that they felt when they were feeling like low. Right. It's like, you don't even know what to do with the happiness. Adrenaline. Yeah. Like, there's something in your, I don't know what the terms are or anything, but he described it to me, and he was like, you're definitely, it's like we're so used to being in fight or flight mode in that anxious state that like, now that you are doing all the right things to feel like your best, it's like your body wants to try and like bring you back there, because that's like what's comfortable and what's safe, you know? So it's just a lot of like inner work of like, okay, this isn't working for me. Like, now I know I want to do less like weightlifting. I want to do more like walking and yoga and weightlifting. I love weightlifting, but I'm not doing pre-workout anymore because that has been giving me a heart attack. Seriously. So I went to like a non-stimulant pre-workout, and that was the best thing I ever did. But then of course I go back to it, and then I have a week of like, I'm in my head, intrusive thoughts, like I'm being crazy, I'm obsessive, like, you know, and I'm like, why am I here? Oh, because now I'm super sensitive to caffeine. Like, my body has become so, I don't know if it's like clean or.
I was going to ask, like, what other impacts have you noticed in your physical health now that you have cut out alcohol? How do you react to things differently now?
I'm super sensitive to, things that are bad for you.
Shocking,
like, I used to be able to drink. This is bad. Like, this is embarrassing. Honestly, it's disgusting. But I could have a full scoop of pre-workout. So that's 400 milligrams of caffeine. Then I would have a cup of coffee when I would get home. I'd go to work. I'd probably have like a monster.
Come in, flustered.
Monster.
Hello.
Yeah. I'm like crazy, you know, going a million. I'm like, you running here?
I'm like, what's going on? I can always hear the jangle of the keys.
But, a monster, and then probably coffee again later on, you know, and then I'm like talking to my therapist, and he's like, okay, like, this is why you have so much anxiety. You need to reel it in on the caffeine, you know, and forever
I
was like,
no. It's so funny to even think about and joke about these things, because you are so different now that I forget that when I first met you, there was so much of the, that. And like, I remember you even talking about like monsters. I'm like, oh, she did used to drink those. That's so crazy. That feels like such a lifetime ago. I remember the boys would come in and be like, I have a monster for mommy. I'm like, oh, she's in there.
Out of here.
Yes, but like, that's so.
Where's your Alani?
No, literally, okay? I don't even know all of them.
Listen, the monster's where it's at. I'm not going to lie.
It's just so like crazy to remember. You've just come so far. I like literally forgot that.
Yeah.
That was you. It's so wild.
And that's like the journey of it, is that you'll find so many like different like levels. It's like a little onion. So many like things that like, our marriage is the best it's ever been. I feel like, I tell Dan this all the time, I feel like I'm genuinely in love with him for the first time. And that is like crazy for me to say, but our relationship, we drank all the time. Like, it started us partying together, you know, and I think that's what bonded me. I was like, finally, I have a boyfriend that's not judging me. Like, literally, I remember one morning I got to his house so hungover, and we were in our first like week of dating, and he's like, well, do you want a shot? And I was like, oh my God, like, I love you. Like, and a road soda, like, done, marry me now, you know, which is ridiculous. But I just felt like, okay, I'm not being judged. And And when I felt judged, I would drink more because I felt like I was like I would hide it, you know? Right. But anyway, so like, we're the happiest we've ever been, most connected with our kids. Like, you know, I feel a lot more patient with them. Things aren't perfect. Like, I'm still dealing with lots of irritability with the kids and life, because things are constantly changing and seasons are, you know, you just go through them. But it only is going to benefit you in every positive way. Financially, so many positive things have happened. Dan has gotten like the promotion he's always been waiting for at his job, you know, and I always tell him, like, it's because you're not drinking. And he's like, why do you always like go back to that? Because you just
show up differently.
And I'm like, because you're not in a bad mood. Like, you are so even, like, just, you're a calmer person. Like, it's made us realize, I mean, I'm an oversharer. I've always been a big talker. Like, that's just the way that I operate. But I don't know. Like, I feel like we both are like, okay, we want to like take a step back and like be better at listening. Like, we just, you're able to see yourself in so many ways that you want to work on and improve. And it's scary, but also like very cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you have to follow through with those things.
I mean, we've talked about this before, but I even see, obviously I don't see him very often, but even the times that he's popped dinner with the boys, I'm like, he seems great. He seems happy. He seems light. He seems confident, right? Like, all of these things. And it's like, that's all you can ask for. That's all you want for people, is for them to be the happiest, healthiest version of themselves. And you both have come so far, and it's not easy at all. And it's been so cool to watch. And I've talked about this with you before, but you know, watching you and watching you really take control of your life is something that has been so cool, and something that has been so meaningful to just watch, you know, because when someone is going through that, you have two choices. You either do it or you don't. And if you don't do it, you lose everything. You lose your job, you lose your family, you lose your house, and you become unhelpful, right?
And it's sad because that happens all the time.
And like, I don't think you were like there, but I can
see now. Like, now I'm like, oh, that marriage could have been saved if they would have, you know, if they would have showed up for each other and stuck together and did this together. Like, their kids wouldn't have these problems if the parents were actually watching them. And the children aren't making their parents' drinks for them. Like, what is going on?
Grab me a beer, go grab me whatever. That's how I was growing up. And it was like, not good.
Again, it's never coming from a place of like judgment. It's like, let's just wake up. Like, really, like, let's wake up and like take a look at ourselves.
Let's enjoy our life. We only have one life to live.
I feel like I'm finally living my life. Like, I feel like for years I don't remember like just things because I was partying and not just present, you know, and now I feel like I'm like, I want to go, like, I'm enjoying like the most simple things make me happy, and like we have fun, and I'm more silly, and like we are just, it's just so much more like genuine and present. It's really nice
and peaceful. And that's all you can ask for. And it's just been so cool to watch both of you, and to watch people make the decision to take accountability for their life and realize that you are the reason for your happiness, and you are the only person that's gonna do that for yourself.
No one else is coming to save you.
No one is coming to save you. 100%. And you show up or you don't, and that's up to you. And it has to be a decision that you make. There is no hand holding. And especially, you know, when you have your own babies, you are making decisions for them too.
Yeah, it's crazy because like there's this one artist, and I've sent the song to all of you guys. But I used to be so not emotional, like numb. Seriously, like nothing would make me cry. It was crazy. And I knew obviously it was not okay. Like, I wasn't like, I don't cry. Like,
no, something's wrong, really wrong.
Like, because nothing, like someone could have died. And I literally be like, I can't squeeze it out, you know? But I remember, I think this was like 3 months in of us like actually officially saying like, we're not going to drink again. I found this artist, his name's Dax, and he has this one song, I think it's Alcohol. I think it's called Alcohol. Yeah. And it talks about like him being a role model for like his kids, and them seeing him like with like beer bottles, and just, he's rapping, but it's so powerful. And every time I hear it, I like cry. You know, I just like shed a tear because it really is all about like being the best. I want to be the best version of myself, for myself, but like for my kids, so they so we don't repeat the same things that were happened to us, you know, like stop being a victim. Like, I don't want to just say, oh, this is okay because this is what my mom did. And this is what, you know, my mom didn't drink actually. Like it wasn't a learned behavior. My parents really didn't drink. It was just how I dealt with, you know, them getting a divorce and then this X, Y, and Z, you know, whatever. But at the end of the day, like we all have been through something. And so it just like, it's just interesting. I don't know. I became a much more like in tune with my emotions.
Well, you have to be. Because you're in your head all day. And
but
there's
I'm also
nothing
like,
clouding.
I'm just getting old and like sensitive and cry.
If someone is listening to this and they are in either a similar position as you, whether maybe it hasn't gotten to like rock bottom, because I wouldn't say that you guys were like there.
But I mean, I could have foreseen that.
Sure.
Like,
maybe
a couple years down the road.
Later, right?
It would have messed something up.
Right. What advice do you have for someone who is in a similar position? They're interested in becoming sober. They're interested in, maybe it's not alcohol, maybe it's other substances. What advice do you have for someone who's just now starting, either for longevity or for just taking it day by day? Like, what are your initial thoughts to someone, or what would you tell you when you first started?
I think that you just can't overthink it. I think just acting, like having some self-control, like knowing that if this really kind of like digging deep, like within yourself and having like a conversation, a hard conversation with yourself. Like if this is hurting you, if this is something that is on your mind a lot, if this is something that consumes you, whatever it is, if it's something that you're like, should I be doing this? Like, is this right? If you're having those feelings about it, there's a problem and it bothers you. So it's not going to go away until you deal with that. And whether that means like you go get help, or I don't know. I love the way that we did it because I feel like I gave it a shot. Like I really gave giving up drinking a shot. I gave moderation a shot. You know, I'll never look back and be like, well, we never tried this way, you know? So if, I don't know, that worked for me, so that might work for someone else. I do feel like that was like a great way to do it. Like if it's hard for you just to cut it off like that, I really think that it was helpful for me to see the different phases. Like I needed to see all that to get to where I am now.
I agree.
You know, I don't think I was ready to just cut it out 6 years ago.
Hard. It's so challenging,
but just like keeping the promise to yourself.
Absolutely.
That is 100% it. Like, and like you said earlier, I keep my promises to everyone else. I need to keep the promise to myself. Absolutely. And that is how you're going to become more confident, because then you're not lying to yourself anymore. You're holding yourself accountable, you know, and that is the most important. The relationship with ourselves is the most important one. And it honestly is the last one that we deal with, you know, it's the last one that we fix or take care of. When it really needs to be the first one.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think we always put ourselves last in situations like this and just in general? Because I think that's a common thread. Even when guests come in, they're like, oh my gosh, like I haven't done this in like a year.
I think it's just guilt. Like not all guilt. I think it depends on like what phase of like your life you're in. Like I know a lot of our moms and you know, myself as well, like it's a lot of guilt for the kids. I mean, every day I come to work, the boys sit at the window and like cry while I leave, you know, or I need to run back and give one more hug, or they run outside and they wait and just wave and they cry if I don't put my windows down. Like it's hard for me to even leave the house to go to work. And then they're asking me, how many clients do you have, mommy? How many minutes is 5 hours? And I'm like, ask Alexa. Ask Alexa, you know, and I'm like, Dan, save me, like get the kids so I can go, you know, so I think taking care, if me doing anything other than work, I feel guilty doing, you know, so I go to the gym at 5 a.m. So I'm not taking away time from the boys. So doing other things for yourself feels like so much. How can you fit that in? But that's just like from a mom's standpoint. I think taking care of yourself is just not like our first, I don't think it's like our first
like instinct.
I don't weirdly think so I don't know why. I don't know if it's because like you have to like look inside, like what do I need?
Just as women, because do you think men kind of think for themselves a bit more? But I think as women, it also is, you and I all we're ever talking about is everyone else.
Yeah.
All we're ever talking about is, are they okay? Like, like fixing everything and trying to make things happen. And
we're like, we're not well, but
we're like, my eyes twitching and I haven't slept in 3 days.
Yeah,
but like,
my eyes been
everyone's
twitching
alive.
for a week. Yeah. My right eyes.
I have a broken blood vessel, but like everyone's alive.
Right.
It's all good.
Yeah.
I don't know why we do that.
Well, I think there's a lot of different things. I think it stems from being a people pleaser. I definitely think that we both like want to make sure everyone is happy.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because we genuinely, I do feel that it comes from a place of like genuinely wanting to make other people
like
happy.
Deep care.
Yes.
Care for people.
On that same note, do I think that there's a slight part of it that's like, because I care what other people think of me?
Sure.
100%.
Sure.
And do I want them to think I'm always perfect? And it's a hard pill to swallow, not to like, because I am a motivated person. You're a motivated person. You're a beautiful person. Like we both are, beautiful inside and out. So you want to be doing well and you want to look like everything's great and fine and dandy, so I think, it stems from those things.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think it also can stem from wanting to be the people that just like do it all. Like what's another, I can handle it because I'm tough.
For sure.
And I've already handled all the other things that have happened to me my whole life. This is nothing.
Yeah.
But then it feels a bit heavy.
And like on the note of like handling everything, and I've told Allison this, and this is also like totally TMI, but I have been recently like asked by my therapist if I wanted to get on any type of like antidepressants or anti-anxiety, because I do struggle with that, like just personally. And I always have, but I didn't know it until now. Like now it's brought its ugly head up, because I'm having to deal with it. And I don't want to, I feel like why did I stop drinking to just take something else to mask an issue?
Right.
If there is like a deep seated issue that like I need to work on, then I'm going to figure out how can I really like put in the work. And I think that's the hardest part, is like knowing what to do. Like, where do you start? How do you stop drinking? I think people just don't know how to get to that. Like they know they should, but how do I put it into motion?
Right. Right.
So I think a lot of it is just being real with yourself.
Yeah.
Not masking your problems, really, trying to figure out like what's going on, getting to know yourself.
Absolutely.
Like I think a year ago, I probably couldn't have even identified like what I really like to do or what like makes me happy. Or, I knew that like my children and like other people and, but now I'm like, you know what? I like to read. Yeah. Everyone gives me books. I'm like, I don't read. I don't have time for that. Yeah. Cause I'll pass out.
It's so good for you.
But I sat outside the other day for 30 minutes and I left my phone inside and I read and I got to suntan and I was like, this is where it's at.
Yes.
Like it was so peaceful. Not one sound. The kids were at school and I'm like, I'm doing this every Tuesday or Thursday. My morning's off.
Tuesday, Thursday mornings.
This is it.
Yes.
But yeah.
So what is next for you guys? What is kind of the next layer of your wellness journey? Where is the effort being put into? Like, where do you kind of want to see yourself this time next year?
So you're going to laugh, but I've recently started kind of like scratching the surface of finding cleaner, body care options and stuff like that. Like, I don't know all the technological terms here. Okay. So I'm not going to start saying, okay, so this is phthalate free and parabens. Like, I know the main ones, right? But I did go through my underarm cleanse.
She sure did.
Listen, she's only saying that because I was sweating like crazy. I didn't stink. Okay. No. And I think I didn't stink because I eat healthy and because I wasn't drinking. Like I really do think like my body has detoxified, but I'm going down that route. Like I'm switching our lotions and, non-toxic deodorants, but I'm finding out the ones that are labeled non-toxic still are toxic. There's still a ton of fragrance in them and stuff. So like, I think I'm just scratching that surface. And with that being said, I am never going to, and I know myself, I am not going to be like living on a farm, raising chickens. Like I'm not, and there's a balance and that's what I want for my life. I'm not saying never. I do see like the appeal. I'm not making fun of that at all. I think that is like incredible. And but where our life is right now,
I can
like
see
that's
when the kids are moved out. I can see you doing that.
No, Dan wants to be like in a penthouse on the beach somewhere.
Oh, well, honestly, slay. You can have chickens there too.
We didn't have you too. We'd be living in a penthouse. But yeah, I think next year I'm just really going to educate myself. I find myself like finding a lot of brief articles and I get really like amped up about them. I'm like, okay, I'm done with this. And like, I'm going to stop drinking this, or this is, you know, but I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Honestly, like I want to so fully understand though. Right. And I feel that way with like work. Like I want to fully understand like on a cellular level, the things that I'm talking about. Yeah. So it feels good and full and whole to me when I say them, you know. Absolutely. And it doesn't mean that my knowledge is, I have knowledge, I have a wealth of knowledge, but like the levels, that's what I want to focus on. I really want to like hone in on like my education with like beauty, health, wellness, all that. I feel like I've mastered my, like I know where I'm at in the gym. I'm recently going to Pilates with her. Yeah. You know, they've gotten me to, you know, take a couple Pilates classes, and that's been fun, like kind of getting out of my comfort zone, because I just stuck with like weightlifting for a long time. I know. Yeah. So I think just like trying different things. Like it's really exciting.
Living a full life.
Yeah. Like not just going to
Because how much more fun is it for us to all go to Pilates than for all of us to go get drinks?
It is way more fun.
Way more fun.
Way more fun.
Like there's nothing that brings me more joy than watching Alyssa like die in a reformer. Yeah. You know what I mean?
It really like life feels is good. So much more fulfilling.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
And life is just so much sweeter this way.
Being awake. Yeah. For sure.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Crazy how that happens.
Right.
Well, thank you so much for coming back on and for talking about this. I know it's not easy, and I know that it's probably a little overwhelming, and you're probably like dying inside a little bit.
You know, it's the camera. It's not the topic. I could talk about this to anyone, seriously, all the time. Dan's like, babe, reel it in. Like, stop telling everyone. It's so
important to have the conversations, I think. And I think that's something that we do really well in this building, is having these really real and honest conversations with our guests and with each other. And I've said to you so many times, what I love so much about our relationship is how deep it is, because I've never been able to get so deep, literally to like cellular, like the things that we hold each other accountable and the things that we touch on. It's so good to have connections like that, because they do matter and they do change lives, and they do impact for years and years and years, right? Like imagine I never told you that I like that first time that we went out, imagine I never told you I don't drink.
Yeah, it was that definitely helped me like, whoa, this is like a normal thing. Totally. There are normal people that go and hang out, and there's like a cool girl like that doesn't drink. What happened? I don't know. Yeah. And like even like other things with like my brother's health and stuff, like if you hadn't shared certain things, who knows where he would have been, right? And like those are life altering conversations that have only both benefited us for years and years and years and years. And I can always be like, it's because Kate told me. Yeah. And like my life is so different now, right? And like how special is that to have those relationships? You don't get that all the time. Meaningful, real, honest, like. And that's all that matters. I feel like in every aspect of life, I just want like quality. Absolutely. Everything I just want to be quality. Absolutely. I really don't care about the noise, you know.
We don't have time.
Yes.
So busy.
So busy.
We're like really busy. Yeah. Okay. Well, this was so amazing, and I'm really interested to see some feedback. I'm hopeful that even if this just reached one person, that's all we can ask for, right? I think we've made a lot of impressions on guests, and you know, the conversation of not drinking has come up quite a bit, but even if, you know, this goes past our scope of just guests and clientele, and if you're listening to this, you so got it. And you're going to be just fine.
Thanks.
Yeah. And I'm really proud of you, and I cannot wait to see in a year you really sharpening and leveling down into like exactly what you want to do and where you want to be, and really
it's like who I want to be,
focusing on and these like really niche things, and it's gonna be an excellent year for you, I would say.
Thanks. I'll be back in a year. No, I'm
She'll be back in a year. No, literally. Hopefully sooner than that. I don't even know. Like where the time
I'll have to talk about some clean stuff.
Oh my God, I would love to. You can give me a lesson.
Yeah, we should. Deodorant. That would be fun.
We will. I'll put it on your books.
Oh, don't even. She needs to detox.
I do. I'm not giving it my secret. I'm so sorry. Okay, excellent. Well, if someone is listening to this and they want to schedule with you, maybe a consult, maybe a microneedling sesh, where do they find you? Plug yourself. tell me where we can find you.
It is on Instagram at Skin Theory XKO. So Skin Theory by Katlyn Olson is my Instagram handle. And I love our guests having my Instagram account, because then we can talk via, DMs, and we can talk at any hour. And they do. They message me at like 11 o'clock at night. I love the protein powder. One of my girls, but I'm like, this is why I love this. Like, we're close, and they come to me. I've had questions about all different types of things, workouts, like whatever it is. And it doesn't bother me. No one's ever bothering me. Like, if this is helping you, reach out, please. Like, that's why we're here.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks.
I appreciate having you on.
I appreciate you too.
Of course. Thank you guys so much for listening and for spending another hour with us, another week. We will see you guys next time. Bye.